Hello and welcome to another fabulous edition of Meet the Tech Titans. And this is season 2 of Meet the Tech Titans, brought to you by our wonderful friends at Hutch. And we also say a big thank you to Collabs at Miracle Towers at Havelock City, our official venue partner. We'll speak about them as we move on. On the show, as you know, with season 2, we're going to be talking to industry stalwarts, individuals who obviously use tech in their workplaces, in their industries, and how best they've obviously used tech in different ways. That's what we're talking about on the show. And the other thing, the very important thing that I want to mention also, is the fact that we want to cut down on the buzzwords. We want to just get rid of the jargon that the techies use. And we're going to be talking to individuals out there just to make sure that everyone out there, just like you, exactly understand how huge technology is in the world, not necessarily Sri Lanka, and how huge it's actually taking over, and how we have to obviously be a part and be on board with that. If not, we all will be basically left behind. On the show today, it's actually a privilege to actually have him on the show because he's hardly in Sri Lanka, and we were absolutely lucky to get a hold of him while he is here. It's Mustafa Kassim. He is the CEO and founder of Raw Global. Mustafa, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shaq. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And pleasure.
Like I said, it's very lucky we got you.
I'm not going to be a part of the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a part of it. And before we move into what we have lined up with you, Mustafa, let's talk about Raw per se. It's obviously moved on from one step to another. What was the whole idea behind creating Raw?
Okay. So we started Raw in 2014. The idea was to be the BuzzFeed or the Vox.com for South Asia. Right. At that time, the publications that I mentioned were doing really well in the US, in Europe, and gaining a lot of steam. And in this part of the world, users were coming online for the first time. Right? 4G had become super cheap, smartphones had started becoming super cheap, and then your everyday person was for the first time getting access to the internet. And they were coming online in their local languages, right? So our thought process was, why not create a media platform, a digital first content platform for these users to come and start accessing in their local languages and in stories that were localized to their regions. And the idea was, let's target the next billion users, right? And build a company around that. So we started in 2014, started with English, things went quite well, and then we got into Sinhala, Tamil. We also launched in Bengali, that was a huge success for us. We started in India, we did 2 languages in India. And the idea was, let's get to 100 languages, right? And let's create like this media empire across South Asia.
Ambitious.
Always. Whatever I do, I think, all right, how do we make this a $1 trillion company?
Great.
And we raised venture funding. We did quite well for the first few years. User engagement picked up. We got to 50 million users at one point per month.
Wow.
Yeah, it was doing very well. Monetization, as you might know, in the media industry is very difficult.
Right.
And the landscape kept shifting. Facebook changed the algorithms. We started losing reach. It started becoming super hard to monetize. And by 2018, I think we made a decision. We need to start pivoting away from media publishing into more marketing services.
Right.
So the first service, of course, would be, let's start offering our content production capabilities to brands on a white label basis.
Right.
So that business still exists today. It's called Raw Media.
Right.
We have 30 plus content creators, super creative, and who work with some of the largest organizations in the world. Not just in Sri Lanka, but we have a huge clientele now outside in the US, in Australia, that we do a lot of content production for.
Right.
And we kept evolving from there. So Raw Media still continues to provide content production. We started Raw AdX, which was the Meta authorized sales partner in Sri Lanka.
That's right. That's a big step.
That was a big step. That was a step we weren't really expecting, but I think Meta reached out to us, and that kind of blew up very well. 5 years on, now we are a independent media reseller. Meta kind of shifted directions as to how they work with partners.
Okay.
But we're still one of the largest Meta sales partners in South Asia, ex-India.
Oh, wow.
Right? If you look at Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, we're one of the largest. We also, the Google representatives in Sri Lanka, Laos, and Brunei. We represent Google in these 3 markets. We provide official Google Ads sales and support services. And we also extend these services to clients in other parts of the world. In Europe, Singapore, Australia, we provide Google consultancy and Google and analytics consultancy.
Okay, okay.
We also acquired a platform in Australia called Creatorflow, largest UGC marketplace.
All right.
In Australia, we connect 500 plus UGC creators with brands in Australia.
Okay.
And we're the largest UGC marketplace. And we also have Raw Apex, where we connect top 1% talent from Asia to upcoming startups and organizations in Australia and the US. So we're doing a lot of different things.
Clearly.
5 different businesses now.
Right.
And how we're positioning Raw Global is to become this group or this network of marketing and AI companies.
Okay.
Right? Almost like a holding company of sorts.
Right.
And that's the vision. And now my role has shifted from individually operating these entities to start looking at it from a holding company level and looking at what more we can add to the portfolio, how we can grow each entity, how we can grow as a group.
So you obviously got your hands full.
Super full.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But honestly, it's a very interesting area to get into because what you've decided on doing yesterday is not what you can do today because technology moves so fast. And your 5 companies that you mentioned are pretty much heavily dependent on technology and clearly need to sort of keep your ear to the ground, so to say. So Mustafa, let's get into what you do right now. You've been in the game for so long. Clearly you've been in the game for so long. You know exactly how to pivot along the time. If you can describe one of your wow moments in terms of the shift for you to move into AI marketing, where and what would it actually be?
I think the first time I used ChatGPT.
Right.
I think as like most of us.
Yeah.
In 2023, all of a sudden, out of the blue, we have been talking about AI, machine learning for several years, right? But there hasn't been a real practical use case for us normal people.
Right.
Right? Maybe the people high up at Google, Amazon, etc. were using it for various products and services. Even Tesla was using it for self-driving cars. But for the everyday user, for the small business, ChatGPT was your first interaction to what an AI could be.
Right.
Right. And I think at that moment it was like, wow.
Okay.
And I know how people I was born into the internet, right? When I was born and by the time I grew up, internet was a thing. But I'm sure for most of the older people, when the internet came about, it was that wow moment. And I think AI is that wow moment in our generation. It's wow, this has tremendous potential, tremendous opportunity. And everyone thought, all right, it's 2023, in 2 years, AI is going to be this big dystopian future. It's like Jarvis from Iron Man, you know?
Yeah.
So there is huge expectations of what AI is. Some have come to light, some are still going to take some more time. But it's definitely a revolutionary product, it's a revolutionary technology that I think everyone needs to get on board with.
But what is your view, though, the hype as far as AI is concerned? I mean, is it actually game-changing?
100%. 100%. But I think we need to take a step back. It's not this one big solution, right? Where you just it's not where you install AI into your life and your life immediately changes. AI right now is 100 different tools, right? You need to learn how to use these tools and leverage these tools. Each tool provides you some type of efficiency increase, right? If you're creating content, AI will help you create content 10 times faster, especially written content for now. Visual content, I think, is going to still take some time. We're seeing improvements in this space.
Yeah.
When it comes to ideation and strategy, AI can help you 10x your ideas. When it comes to, say, data and analytics, AI can help you 10x how fast you access and understand the data. When it comes to personalization, AI can help you personalize across thousands, if not tens of thousands. So you need to look at AI not as this one big solution, but the efficiencies you're going to get from tools, right? 100 different tools. If you start learning how to leverage them and implement them in your business or in your daily life, you could easily see a huge efficiency increase.
So let's talk about, obviously AI is out there, right? Honestly speaking, AI, even though we're talking about it so well, especially ChatGPT and one of the other tools, it's still at its infancy. Pretty much. I mean, there's so much more that it's actually obviously capable of. But traditionally, Mustafa, marketing, if you take a look at marketing, it was human driven, right? It was psychological driven. It was touch feel sort of thing. It was emotionally driven, right? And there are certain individuals who obviously stood out because they were smarter. There were certain individuals who stood out because they actually thought ahead of time. Now, with the introduction of AI, does it not put everybody on the same scale? And where are we going to distinguish a really good campaign from a normal campaign?
That's a good question. So just some context, Jack. 2025, we had a strategy session, and one of the biggest points that I drove to the teams is 2025 is the year that Ro kind of becomes AI first.
Okay.
Right? We need to train our teams to use AI, to leverage AI. We need to start implementing AI solutions into all of our businesses, and any new businesses need to be AI native, right? So that's super important to kind of set the context. Will AI replace marketers? No. But a marketer using AI will replace marketers not using AI.
Right.
Right? I think that's a very simple way to answer your question.
Right.
And AI helps increase efficiency. It helps you do more with less time. But is it going to replace, say, human creativity, human emotion? I think that's a little difficult at this point, right? And I don't think we want it to do that. But would it augment your talents? Would it augment your creativity? Absolutely, and it should.
So basically, I mean, when you take a look at AI, especially when you take a look at ChatGPT and the other tools out there, clearly it can give you something back when you put down a few words. But what really is required from the human side is to ensure the fact that your prompts are to the point and in detail, to ensure the fact that what you come back with is exactly what you want in terms of the campaign or whatever. So clearly in that way, human requirement is still needed to make sure the prompts are just the way that you want it to be, right? But in terms of AI right now, let's just cut through the buzzwords, right? Let's just cut through the buzzwords. And AI being applied in marketing campaigns right now, how is that actually improving? I mean, on a daily basis, people are just going straight up with that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start off with say ideation and strategy.
Right.
Right. I think now every marketer should be engaging with AI platforms to improve the ideation and to improve their strategy. If they're not, I don't know why they would not do that. It's free. So it kind of helps you get ideas. It helps you start getting the ball rolling. And of course, then you need human creativity, and then you need human emotion to kind of really make that work into the context of the campaign you're trying to build. When it comes to content creation, written content now with the right guidance, context, and prompting, AI can handle that for you.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to worry about scripting. You don't need to worry about, say, captions. You don't have to worry about that. Of course, human editing, human refinement is always good and will make your product way better, but AI's got that on lock. When it comes to visuals, I think up until this point, you have Midjourney, you have DALL-E. They could kind of give you an abstract illustration as to what type of visual or what type of theme you're going for. Last couple of weeks, we've seen ChatGPT 4.0 now being able to start doing more advanced image generation and text manipulation.
And 5 fingers rather than 6 fingers.
Yeah, 5 fingers, 2 legs instead of 3 legs,
yeah.
right? So I think it'll start getting better. And then when you look at, say, data and analytics, right? It helps you can start asking questions, right? How were my sales in February? It'll tell you, all right, this is your sales in February, rather than you having to go manually select February, build a report, whatever it is. But it goes one step further. It has context, and it can kind of understand what's going on. Why did I have a spike in the second week of February? Let's say it's Valentine's Day, right? Because it kind of understands context. It knows information, and it can go and find and search information by itself, right? Let's say you're a B2B business and you want to start having targeted emails. Right now, how emails are set up is new user signs up. If they purchase, send them, say, a purchase email and thank them for buying. If they don't purchase, wait 1 day, send them a reminder. If not, wait 2 days, send them another reminder, right? So these are all manual email flows that are set in place. Now with AI, you have hyper personalization, right? You know that, okay, this guy visited, say, let's say you're buying perfumes online, visited this scent, this is their usage behavior, this is how we acquire this customer. Emails now can be hyper personalized, right? This is just some examples, right? So definitely, I think marketers, creative people are still required. But if you're not using AI, you're getting left behind. And I think that shift is going to start becoming very apparent. Today, when we hire, my first question is, how do you use AI? To candidates.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's the first question.
Right.
How do you? Some people get taken back. Should I say I use AI or not? Because would that hurt me?
Yeah.
But for anyone watching, you need to show how capable you are with AI. I think that's become a super mandatory and super important.
So it's nothing wrong. I mean, so there's still a school of thought that says you need to think on your own. Using AI today is how we were told not to use calculators in school.
Yeah, exactly.
So even though, yes, we did use calculators, but the whole idea was you need to compute or you need to sort of have the answers in your head. I mean, in school, every time we said, show your workings, your workings. How did you come to the answers? Now, we were so used to showing our workings in school, but here now with this current generation, basically using AI, you don't need workings, you just need answers, So it's also a bit difficult for a generation to understand and accept what's going on right now. How is that basically taking in?
I think that's a good point you brought up, using calculators in school. And I think it's super important for people to understand the underlying principles. Now, for example, how to write.
Yeah.
I think it's a very important skill for people to know how to write well without AI. Right. How to reason, how to be creative, how to do things without AI. Have that base and we expect all candidates to have that competence, right? But now, are you able to take that competence and 10x it with AI? That's what we're kind of looking for.
Okay.
Right? The same thing with the calculator. You could do addition, subtraction to a certain extent. You know what the principles are.
Right.
But could you start doing it frequently at scale? You need a calculator for it.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how I think about it.
So now the holy grail, of course, right now everyone's been chasing this holy grail of personalization. That's what we really want in terms of AI, right? But for us, can we actually say that AI has finally got us to that point?
In what sense?
So basically, in terms of, for the longest time, even in terms of marketing, you just want to make sure that it's personalized. When you put something out there, it has to strike you emotionally, personally at the end of the day. But from what you've said, we've actually come to a point where it is sort of hitting the right tone, right? But can we say that AI has actually got us right there?
I think we still have ways to go. And of course, human creativity, emotion needs to be put into place. But is it possible? Yes, it is possible right now. And definitely, we're starting to see personalization starting to become more. It's starting to come about, right? Now, if you just think about, say, how you use an AI platform. When you do a Google search, right? Everyone gets the same answers.
Yeah.
Right. When you run a query on ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, everyone gets a different answer.
Right.
So I think from that get-go, you already have personalization.
Yes.
Right. And they're starting to store your information. They're starting to have a memory. Right. And they know, all right, Shaq is from Colombo. This is what he likes, based on your previous interactions, of course, with the platform.
Right.
This is what he likes. This is what he's looking for. He has how many other kids you have. He understands all. The AI understands all of that. So now going forward, all the answers you get is already starting to be personalized. So the answer you get, you ask the same question to ChatGPT, me and you, we're going to get two different answers.
Right.
So it's just starting from that is personalized, and then marketers are able to take that and apply it across their marketing campaigns. The same principles.
Isn't that scary, Mustafa?
It is a little scary. I kind of use incognito, and actually that brings me to a good point, right? I think corporates, businesses need to be super careful on how their employees are using AI. Right? I don't think it's a good idea to take your company prospectus or your financials or anything important or even important legal documents and just upload it to ChatGPT on someone's personal account. They're going to start using that for training. They're going to start using that data.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of look at it from a business and start looking at, okay, what are the enterprise solutions available? What are the solutions that safeguard my company's privacy and make sure that none of this data goes outside the users that are supposed to work on it. And that's something we have started to do as a company as well. Started to look at, all right, what are the enterprise solutions we can apply to ensure that there is privacy in place.
I mean, ethical use of AI is something that is actually a huge thing around the world, right? But unfortunately, it's still a bunch of committees in each country that's actually still sitting and discussing it, right? But do you not feel by the time they come with policies on ethical use of AI is just going to overtake them like 10x at that point? And then honestly, are you not playing catch up every single time? Because when you come up with policies, you're coming up with policies of what you heard about AI a year ago.
Yeah.
And you're coming up with those policies a year after. In the year after, it's like 5 years ahead. So how's that going to work?
Yeah, I think there are some serious implications.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw on X or Twitter, there was someone who showed an example of a medical bill. One is the original medical bill, and then one was an AI edited version of a medical bill. Looked identical with a different value. And in this use case, it could be used to submit, say, the AI version for insurance where you get a higher payout.
Exactly.
Right? So I think making sure that there are safeguards in place, there's policies in place, start becoming very important. And also now as a business, if you're issuing, say bills or invoices, receipts, you need to have a way of verifying, scan a QR code, verify it. So not just policy, but also the way businesses do business need to start adapting to AI.
Because the thing is, I mean, just what you mentioned, I actually saw it on X. There was someone who created a receipt of a company dinner. And basically also ensured the fact that it had a crumpled effect. Right? So it's not like neat as neat can be. It had a crumpled effect and had the date and everything. So then he says, listen, I could easily submit this and have my dinner reimbursed. So again, by the time that we have people discussing the initial stages of AI, this has actually taken off right now. And it is quite scary if it's not actually used properly. I mean, in our previous season, one of our guests basically made a very good point. Just like the good guys are using AI, so are the bad guys.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, and then over time, you are definitely going to have this, fight between what we've grown up to understand, the good versus the evil, on one platform. How do we sort of basically mitigate that?
I don't have the answer to that, Shaq, but it is a good question to ask. Someone was just telling me, how you had people pretending to be younger or female, where they were texting other people who were lonely, and the end objective is to scam people out of money.
Right.
So previously, you were worried if say your child is texting someone, is that actually another child, or is it some adult who is pretending to be a child? Now you need to be worried: is your child texting a child or an AI bot?
That's right.
Right. So there are implications across, right, from society to businesses to government and policy, and these are important questions to ask and start addressing.
I know it's going to be crazy. Governments out there all over the world clearly have some certain questions that they need to basically ask. Getting back to the marketing revolution as far as AI is concerned, we know that big brands have access to powerful tech. We know that big brands have access to powerful tools out there, right? But what can smaller businesses realistically do to still adopt AI? Because, it's not easy for them. Everybody's talking about it. They say, hey, we can do this, we can do that, but It's like, hey, we just started. What do we do?
Yeah. So that's something I think I have been thinking about. And when you said AI is not easy, but AI is not hard either.
Right.
Right. It's actually helped level the playing field.
Yeah.
Right. It's put everyone on the same playing field.
So it's not a luxury.
It's not a luxury.
Right.
AI has started becoming very accessible, very cheap. Building an AI solution has become incredibly easy.
Right.
Right. Improving your product or service by multitudes has become super easy. Right. So I think everyone needs to kind of just look at AI from a lens of, all right, how can I make my products or services better with AI? How can I make my teams more efficient with AI? It's not hard. It's actually easier than what it was prior to AI, right? And it's really put everyone on the level playing field. You're seeing, say, a lot of the big US behemoths, tech companies. I think a lot of them are going to get upended, right? And I think the next big tech companies are going to come from outside the US or outside Silicon Valley, because it really gives everyone a level playing field. The same way internet empowered people, AI is now empowering people.
But where do you think that humans still need to basically have a hand on the wheel? Because by the looks of it, by what we're talking about, is you can, and there are people out there who have pretty much built an entire company with AI, and there are no people working. You know, you've got AI agents who practically pretty much doing everything that is required, and the guy who's owning the business is the only employee.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and it's successful, right? Because it's got no overheads, you know, no leave forms to sign, none of that. But where do you think the humans still have to have a hand on the wheel?
I think just making sure that these AI agents are actually doing a good job, number one. I think I think right now, it's, from what I have seen, it's not as practical or easy as it sounds to have an entire company run by AI. But it'll definitely get there, right? You could have certain functions like customer service, etc. Even for example, maybe say finance technically could be run by an AI agent. You upload your expenses, and then the AI agent should know what to do with it. But having oversight, having policy in place to make sure that things are running as expected, that's super important.
Okay, let's zoom into Sri Lanka, right? You spend almost 7 months away from Sri Lanka. You are basically, you know, the surroundings for you is a community that actually has adopted AI much faster than Sri Lanka has at the moment, and might be a bit difficult for you to sort of comprehend that. I said, listen, hey, we've done this like 6 months ago, and you guys are still basically catching up. Are we still catching up?
No, I think everyone's on the same level playing field now.
Right.
Right. As much as Sri Lanka is trying to grasp and implement AI, it's the same in any part of the world. It's really put everyone on the level playing field. I don't think any government or business has effectively implemented AI to such an extent where they're ahead. I think now is the time for people to. It really helps people to kind of be on the same space.
So are there, for example, cases where marketers are leaning too heavily towards AI and where the balance is actually getting lost somewhere?
Yeah, I think we see that a lot. For example, during one example is when we're interviewing people, right? We sometimes give them an assignment to see how critically they're thinking and how they're reasoning with stuff. And sometimes the submission is totally AI based, right? And I think that's a total no-no. What we want to see is human creativity and human thought, emotion augmented by AI, right? Refined, polished, makes you do it faster, but total submissions with AI looks generic, looks boring. Now, sometimes when people send me emails, I know, all right, this is a ChatGPT email. Right. It's not a problem if ChatGPT or any platform has helped you make your email better, but I know this is not how this person talks.
Okay.
right?
Right, right. Yeah.
So
That's true.
so sometimes they use words even I don't understand,
Right.
right? So I think taking it and using it to really augment and help you get more efficient is important, but not kind of senselessly copy pasting.
Yeah, that seems to happen.
Yeah.
That seems to happen quite a bit. And but now let's just take a step back. Now we're talking about marketing. We're talking about marketing AI revolution. We're talking about brands and companies. What about taking AI into unis and schools and submission of your thesis and all that stuff? You do have certain universities who are warming up to it because you really cannot get away from it. But you still have certain unis who are absolutely no, right? Before you know it, it's going to be a fact that everybody will start accepting AI, right? But in terms of intelligence levels going into universities and all that stuff, if you've got AI, if you've got tools that help you submit those theses, where do we stand as a human race?
I'm not very sure about that, but all I know is I wish I had AI when I was in uni. I really wish I had it, and I feel bad for.
We could have cut our uni by 1 year.
I feel bad for the teachers, lecturers, professors there,
Right.
who are now trying to sift through this challenge of trying to determine what the policy is. Are we accepting AI submissions? How do we tell the difference? In fact, I saw a study done by a professor from a leading US university, an entire document as to how to spot AI.
Right.
Right. And it was super interesting, right? There are certain ways that, especially ChatGPT, how they format their responses. Usually, if you see, let's say they're talking about multiple things, just before an and, there is a comma.
Okay.
Humans don't usually do that. That's the right way to do it, but humans don't really do that. The moment you spot just before an and, if there's a comma, you know that's ChatGPT. Right. So there are a few certain tell signs.
Right.
That help you figure that out.
That's crazy. Honestly, as much as like we were talking about, AI is here to sort of take care of our mundane work because we've got more time to take care of more serious stuff. It also is quite scary as to where this is actually going, because how ChatGPT is today is like 10x from how it was 1 year ago. So things have actually changed a lot, and I really wouldn't know what it's going to be by next year. But honestly speaking, if you are, you've actually embraced AI into your businesses, and you're using AI in terms of pushing marketing out there. You've clearly struck a chord there. How far is the potential in AI marketing? Because it's really, really interesting out there. It's not your mundane stuff. It's not your traditional stuff, but the scope of actually upscaling AI marketing is endless at the moment. So where are we going with that?
Definitely helps marketers get more efficient.
Right.
Just one more example I want to give is Meta. Now, when you run a campaign on Meta, you either run a normal campaign or what you call an Advantage Plus.
Okay.
When you run a Google campaign, you run a normal campaign or a Performance Max campaign, and these are their core AI products. Meaning that you set up the targeting yourself, you set up the all of the little nitty-gritties yourself, or leave it to Advantage Plus, will take care of it.
Right.
Meaning the AI will run the campaign, it will learn from the results, and you'll start tweaking the campaign as you want. And those campaigns have been far more effective than humans trying to target, do the targeting and do the campaign setup themselves.
Right.
The same thing with Google. Performance Mac campaigns have had huge improvements in terms of results. So I think a lot of platforms are going to start implementing AI. Now you have Adobe, who has implemented AI into their product suite, helping designers get far more efficient. We have seen, say, data analytics companies implement AI so users could ask questions, could enrich data. CRMs have implemented AI where before you add a CRM record, let's say you're selling to Hutch, your sponsor, you add them as a record, but then now there's an option where you enrich that data, right? Where it'll tell you, all right, this is what Hutch is, these are the contact people, etc. So across every marketing tool and across every marketing platform, now there are AI options. And you as a marketer or a small business have to think deeply about how your teams are leveraging AI, how your solutions are becoming AI dependent, how you could improve your products or services using AI.
It's been, honestly, it's been fabulous having a chat with you. We're diving into the whole idea in terms of AI marketing and the revolution that's going on. As we come to the end of this episode with Meet the Tech Titans, if I am to basically put you on the spot and say, if there's one thing that brands should actually stop doing right now when it comes to AI and marketing, what really would it be? What do you see that brands are actually doing with AI that it just doesn't sit well with you?
I think not customizing or not only relying on AI.
Okay.
I think that's what they're doing poorly.
Right.
Sometimes you see press releases, you see captions, you see whatever it is, and you know there's zero thought behind it. There's zero human creativity, emotion behind it. It's just straight out of ChatGPT or whatever. I think the consumers are getting very smart, right? They're able to distinguish what's what now. So I think use AI to be an enabler, use it to improve efficiency, but don't replace your thinking and your reasoning with AI only.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been great, Mustafa. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
coming on
Jack.
the show. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Basically, like I said, dive into your world out there using AI and, of course, moving into marketing. What's next for Row Global before we actually let you go?
Oh, yeah. Good question. So for us, AI is new as well.
Okay.
Right? 2025 is when we really started taking AI seriously. So we're 4 months into this journey.
Right.
And all of as a company, our vision, where we're headed, I think it's becoming very, very attuned with, say, where AI is going. Our next business is called Brand Radar. I don't know if you heard about it.
Not yet.
So that's going to be business number 6. We're still working on it. We're trying to help brands understand how AI platforms mention them.
Okay.
Right? Let's say you are asking ChatGPT or Gemini or any other AI platform for recommendations. Let's say you're traveling, right? Let's say you're going to Dubai for the weekend, and your first question is, what's a good hotel near, let's say, Dubai Mall?
Right.
Right? And it'll give you some suggestions.
Right.
Right? How do brands understand when AI platforms mention them, and how do they improve their score? How does a Hilton get ahead of a Hyatt? Right? Or how does a Hyatt get ahead of, say, a Park Royal?
Wow.
So I think it's called AEO.
Okay.
Answer Engine Optimization. That's the new type of SEO, which is
Right.
search engine optimization.
Right.
Something that we are actively working on, trying to help brands understand where you rank amongst your peers, what prompts are you popping up for,
Right.
and giving them solutions as to what you need to do to get ahead.
Right.
So I think SEO was very last year.
Last decade, you mean?
Last decade. It's still important, right?
Yeah,
It's still important. But if you ask around, now a lot of people are shifting their queries straight to AI platforms.
That's right.
Right? I was sick the last few days. I'm asking, rather than Googling if I have cancer, I'm asking ChatGPT if I have cancer.
Yeah. WebMD is gone.
WebMD is gone. Now, exactly.
Right.
So I think it's important for brands to now know that you need to start becoming more visible on the AI platforms, and you need to start competing in that space. So that's a product we're working on. Hopefully it goes live probably end of Q2.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Fabulous. Mustafa, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been absolutely great. Mustafa Kassim, of course, the CEO and founder of Row Global, talking to us about AI marketing revolution, which is really taking off. And I mean, we've obviously spoken about the pluses and the minuses, and like he did say, we're still at the infancy. There's so much that we haven't discovered, so much ChatGPT hasn't discovered about itself, I suppose. But here we go as far as the world is concerned. The tech is taking over slowly. This is Meet the Tech Titans Season 2, which is brought to you by Hutch, and a big thank you to Hutch for being a part of this, and of course giving you individuals who are out there, who are outspoken stakeholders of the tech world in their own little space and creating their own little empires out there. Thank you very much for Collabs giving us the venue to be a part of Meet the Tech Titans Season 2. We got some fantastic voices still coming up on the show. Till then, have yourself a good one.